Hey guys, this is an extra circles video. I'm recording this on day 13, but I'm recording this because there was some confusion today during the lesson about composite shapes. How to find the area of composite shapes. And when I say that composite shapes, I mean shapes that are made up of like a quarter circle, a couple semicircles, maybe a rectangle, and so forth. And then we had a problem where I asked you to find a shape and leave it in terms of pi. And there was a question about why should we ever leave answers in terms of pi and not multiply it out, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and answer that question during this video when we get to actually, I'm not sure what number it is, but I'm going to go over the problem that we did as an exit ticket today, and I'm going to talk about why we would leave answers in terms of pi. Okay, so let's look at this one. So this figure is made up of 4 quarter circles, and we want to find the area of it. Now, since we have 4 quarter circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, if we just look at that, we could visually rearrange that or mentally rearrange those quarter circles to assemble one whole circle. And so all we're doing in this kind of problem is finding the area of an entire circle. When we look at a quarter circle, and we're looking down here at the measurement, it says 14 meters. That 14 meters is the circle's radius, because from here to here is a quarter of the circle. If you could imagine, if I flip, let's look up here. If I flipped this 1 quarter circle over, put it next to this other quarter circle, hopefully you can see my mouse there, I would have a semicircle, right? And then it would be really obvious that from this point to the outside edge is a radius. So don't get confused with quarter circles thinking that the measurement is the diameter. It's not. It's usually going to be the radius. So I'm just going to use my regular area formula, pi times radius times radius. We're going to use 22 over 7 in this case because we have a multiple of 7 for our radius, so times 14 times 14. I could cross cancel that 7 and 14 if I wanted to, and I would have 22 times 2 times 14, and my answer is 616 meters squared. Okay, let's take a look at another one. For this problem, I want you to stop the video. Actually, you should be doing that for all of these. This is kind of a review. And I'm getting these from your day 12 notes. So if you'd like to follow along with day 12, you can do that. You can also follow along in your textbook. But either way, you should stop the video, make sure you can work the problems before you check back to see if you were right. Okay, so here we have a table mat made up of a square and 4 semicircles, and we want to find the area. So as we think through this problem, we obviously need to find the area of the semicircles separately from the area of the square, and then add them all together. Now, if I have 4 semicircles, that means that I have 2 circles. So what I can do is I can multiply my formula times 2, or I can do that at the end. I'm going to do that at the end this time. So I'm going to find the area of a circle first with a radius of 7 because the diameter is 14. So I'm going to use 22 over 7 times 7 times 7. And the area of one of my circles is 154 centimeters squared. But again, we have 2 because we have 2 semicircles here. That makes one whole circle. And 2 here. That makes another whole circle. Okay. So I need to multiply that by 2. And I'm going to get 308 centimeters squared. So that's the area of my circles. Now I need to find the area of the center portion, which is the rectangle. So length times width, and my length and width are both 14. So the area of the square in the center is going to be 196 centimeters squared. Now I'm simply going to add both of those together, 308 plus 196, and I'm going to come up with 504 centimeters squared. Okay, now if we were going to find the perimeter of this table mat, then we just need to think really carefully about how we're going to find that, okay? Remember, when we find a perimeter, we're just building a fence around our shape. And so we just go all the way around the outside. So in this case, I'm not going to deal with this square at all. I'm just going to find the perimeter of these semicircles, and then I'm going to add those together. So really, I just need to find the perimeter of 2 circles. So I'll find the perimeter of 1, and then I'll multiply it by 2 at the end. So pi times diameter, or 22 over 7 times 14, and I'm going to end up with 44 centimeters. Now you'll notice that I have a C here for circumference. Remember that circumference and perimeter are the same thing. It's just that when we have an odd shape like that, we don't really typically use the word circumference. Okay, now I've multiplied that by 2, and I've got 88 centimeters total. Okay, we're going to find the area and perimeter of this funky shape. So I have a semicircle, and I have a triangle. So let's find the area first. So I'm going to find the area of the semicircle, which is pi times radius divided by 2. And then I'm going to find the area of the triangle, and I'm going to add them together. So we'll multiply 3.14 times 5 times 5. My semicircle has a diameter of 10, so that means my radius is just 5. Okay, divide that by 2. So 3.14 times 25 divided by 2 is going to be 39.25 meters squared. Now let's find the radius, I'm sorry, not the radius, the area of the triangle. It's going to be 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 6 times 8. And the area of my triangle is going to be 24 meters squared. And now, of course, all I have to do is add those together, and I'm going to get 63.25 meters squared. Okay, now I want to find the perimeter. So first I need to find the circumference of that half circle, and then all I need to do is add these other 2 edges to it, okay? So there's my formula for the circumference of the semicircle, pi times diameter over 2. And we're going to multiply that out. We're going to get 31.4 divided by 2, which is going to be 15.7 meters. And now I'm just going to add those other 2 edges. So 15.7 plus 6 plus 8, which is going to be 29.7 meters. And again, for perimeter, I'm just walking around the outside edge of whatever shape I'm working with. Okay. Here we've got a square and a semicircle, and we want to find the area and perimeter of the shaded part. So just thinking through this problem a little bit, I'm going to find the area of, we'll do area first. We're going to find the area of the square and the area of the semicircle, and we're going to subtract the area of the semicircle. So let's do the semicircle first. Pi times radius divided by 2. 3.14 times 4 times 4. Hopefully you notice that the diameter was 8. You need to divide that by 2 and use that for radius. And my area of the semicircle is going to be 25.12 centimeters squared. And then we'll use our area formula for a rectangle, length times width, or 8 times 8, so 64 centimeters squared. And now I'm going to subtract 25.12 from 64, and I'm going to get 38.88 centimeters squared. Okay, now to find the perimeter, what we need to do is find the circumference of this part right here, so half of the semicircle, and then add that to these other 3 edges. So pi times d divided by 2, 3.14 times 8 divided by 2, and we're going to get 12.56 centimeters. And now I just need to add that to the other 3 edges, because remember, I'm walking around, and on my PowerPoint it's a little deceiving because it's kind of hard to line shapes up perfectly in PowerPoint. So I have this blue edge, but that's not part of the shape. So I'm walking from around this curved part, and then I go straight for a little while, straight, and I'm back to where I started. So I have 12.56 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, 36.56 centimeters. Okay, here's the problem that was causing us some difficulty today on our exit ticket. It says that this figure is made up of 2 semicircles and a quarter circle. Find, oh gosh, I have a really egregious error right there. Find its area and perimeter. I'm going to pause the video and get rid of that apostrophe right now. Okay, much better. All right, it says find its area and perimeter. Leave your answer in terms of pi. Okay, thinking through this problem, I have a quarter circle plus 2 semicircles. So I need to find the area of each and then add those together. My quarter circle is bigger than my semicircles, right? So remember, when we're looking at a quarter circle, the entire edge is going to be the radius. Okay, so on this quarter circle, the radius is 2 meters. On the semicircles, the radius is going to be 1, right? Because it's going to be half of that diameter. Now, it says to leave your answer in terms of pi. Why would I want to do that? Well, there are a couple different reasons. For one thing, it's just easier. When you leave your answer in terms of pi, you don't have to do that step of multiplying things by 3.14. So there's that. your answer is going to be more exact because it's whatever the answer is times 3.14. So basically, you know, the radius squared times 3.14. It saves you time, and it also helps to basically check answers with each other because it won't depend on whether you used 3.14 or 22/7 for pi. So all of our answers are going to be same. So it just makes life a little bit easier. I know that it is kind of a hard concept to imagine, well, now why would I just not, you know, multiply something out that can be multiplied? And, you know, sometimes that's just the way it is. When you get into pre-algebra next year and in algebra and beyond, you're going to have a lot of answers like that. So it is a hard concept, but it's something to start getting used to. Okay, so, well, let's find the area of a circle first. So I can find the area of one circle. I'm going to find the semicircles because there are two of them, and I'm going to add them together to find the total area. So I've got pi times r, and since my radius is 1, I just have pi times 1 times 1. Now, since I'm leaving my answer in terms of pi, my answer in this case is just pi meters squared. And that's okay. We're just going to leave it like that. Now let's find the area of our quarter circle. So pi times radius divided by 4. My radius in this case is 2. Pi times 2 divided by 4. And if you were working this, you could cross-cancel that 4. You could cross-cancel it with 1, 2. You would have a 1 up here, and then you'd have a 2 right here. And then you could cross-cancel that 2 with the other 2. You'd have a 1 here, and then you'd have a 1 down here. So my answer again is pi meters squared. Now, since both of those answers are in terms of pi, I can add them together, and I would get 2 pi meters squared. This is just like back in algebra when we added, you know, like x's and y's together. And if, you know, if things were in terms of x, then I could add those terms together. Okay, as long as they had the same variable. Same thing here, you guys. Okay, now let's do the same for perimeter. All right, so I'm going to find the perimeter of my circle first. And again, since I have two semicircles, I can just find the perimeter of an entire circle. Okay, so let's do that first. Pi times diameter. So pi times 2, and my circumference or perimeter of those semicircles is 2 pi meters. For my quarter circle, it's going to be pi times diameter divided by 4. So pi times 4 divided by 4. Now remember, since this little edge is the radius, that's why our diameter of that quarter circle is 4. So those will cross cancel, and my perimeter of the quarter circle is just pi. I'm going to add those together. 2 pi plus pi is 3 pi meters. Okay, that's all for this video. Hopefully that answers a few questions about composite shapes and why we leave things in terms of pi. If you're still struggling with the concept of leaving answers in terms of pi, you can go back and practice the other problems and just not multiply them out, and see if you get, you know, an answer that if you multiplied it by 3.14 would be equal to what you got. So come see me if you're still struggling, but otherwise that's all for composite shapes and leaving answers in terms of pi, and this will be the last video before the test. Have a great afternoon.